Hello there everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to make this micro macrame bracelet that's made up with all these connected hearts with beads in them. And this is what it looks like. So you have all your hearts here going from one end to the other. And then I just added a clasp and extend the chain. And then it's going to sit like this on your wrist. So it's going to be nice and comfortable because it's nice and flat there. Really comfortable to wear. And it looks like this. It'll be perfect for Valentine's if you want to use it for that. But obviously you can use it any time of the year. So if you want to learn how to make this micro macrame bracelet, then stay tuned. So it's these things that we'll be needing. Now first of all we need our cord here. So this is a 0.4mm Eslon that I'm working with, just in a nice burgundy colour. And then the beads that I'm using to embellish with are these 3mm metal spacer beads in copper. And then finally I have my 12mm jump rings, so quite large, because we're going to use these to start off and finish off the bracelet with. And then you just need whatever clasp of your choice. So let's get all the materials together and let's get started. So the lengths of cord that we'll need is 8 lengths of about 2 meters each. So we'll need to cut these ready. So then what we need to do first to start off with is get one of our jump rings ready here. So we need to attach all the lengths of cord onto this. What you want to make sure to do first of all is just, if you're using an open jump ring, just make sure it's closed really well so the cord can't slip through there, or you can use a closed jump ring, that's completely up to you. But we need to use that, and then we take one length of cord at a time here, and want to double it over, so put the ends together, and then find roughly the middle up here. So I have this little loop, I'm going to keep hold of that, put this through the jump ring from below, go up through, grab hold of that loop, bring it back over, put your fingers through, and then pull, grab the ends of the cord and pull that all the way through that loop. So you have something that looks like this, and then as we tighten that, you now have this cord attached, and this is a lat's head knot that we're using. And as you can see, by doing this, this one length of cord is now turned into 2, and you want to attach all the lengths of cord in this way. So I've now gone on here and attached all the lengths of cord onto that jump ring, and this is what we've ended up with. And then I've also just attached this jump ring into my board. I'm working on a Project Macrame board here, and then I'm using some T-pins as well. It's going to help secure the work throughout and make it much easier to work with. And then the first thing we need to start doing here before we get into the pattern itself is just make a few rows of knots. Now first off I'm just going to separate my cords out. So I'm going to have 8 on each side there. So really 4 on each side, but remember each one turns into 2 because of that lark's head knot. So I'm just going to start on one side at a time. So from the middle, just put the other side that you're not going to start with out to that side, just to get them out of the way. So I'm just going to start from my left side here, and then I'm going to grab the very outer one, so you can see coming out from that very first lark's head knot, the one that's naturally coming out to the furthest out to the side. Bring that over all the others in towards the middle of your piece here, and then we need to make some double half hitches, building a row underneath this jump ring. So I take the very next cord coming underneath this holding cord, do a double half hitch by taking it around my finger and back around and through the loop, so it looks something like that, like a 6. And then when we tighten this, we need to hold the holding cord coming down at an angle there, downwards from the side of the jump ring towards the middle, just below the middle of the jump ring there. That's the one. We need to make another one for a double half hitch, tighten that until the knots won't go any further. Now put this out to the side, grab your very next cord, make sure you always grab the very next one, and then make another double half hitch. And then you just want to keep doing this, working your way down towards the middle like I said, using one cord at a time until you reach that middle point, and then we'll go to the other side and do the same thing. So when you then finished up this side there, so completed your full row, going down at that angle as you can see, I'm just going to grab all these cords that I've just used and just put those out to the side where they're coming out to. And then I want to go to the side and start doing the same thing, because we need to have one row on each side here and then connect them in the middle as well. So find the very outermost cord, in this case towards the right side, bring that over all the others, and then grab the very next one coming underneath, do a double half hitch, tighten that again coming down at that same angle. So when you tighten your knot, you're holding your holding cord to basically where it's going to meet up with the very end of the row on the other side, so it's going to be the middle point. And you just make your double half hitches going all the way across, the exact same way as the other side, just using opposite ends. And now that I reached the midpoint there with this row as well, you can see we have the two holding cords, the one from each side, meeting there and kind of crossing over right there in the middle. What we need to do now is connect the two rows using these two holding cords. So what I'm going to do is take the one from my right side going over towards the left, bring that over the one from the left side. So the one from the left comes underneath, and that's my first working cord here in the middle. And then I just make a double half hitch with that. And then as I tighten the knot, that's going to be right there in the middle, and bring those two sides together. So fasten the two rows there, just like that. And then we have the cords again coming up to the sides. And then it looks like this. We have a little V there just below the jump ring. So then what we want to do is just make another row on each side underneath this, just to give it a bit more substance and go into the pattern as well. So we're basically just going to repeat the same thing, except now we have these rows that we're working from. So I take now my very outer one on my left side, bring that over all the others, and then grab the very next one that's coming underneath. It's going to be your first working cord. Make a double half hitch with this, and now when you tighten your knots, you're just going to hold your holding cord right below the first row there. So the very next row that we're making is going to be straight underneath that very first one. So you have a nice easy guide to follow now. And you basically just want to finish up this row down to the middle. Once you've done that, go to the opposite side, do the same thing, make another row underneath that one, and then you want to repeat that step we just did in the middle by binding the two sides together as well. So now that we've got this part done as well, what we need to do is start getting ready, where we need to add the beads into the section as well. So I'm just going to separate my cords out. So I'm going to take out the two outer ones on each side there, because we're just going to leave them for now. Come back to them, and then we have these left. So I'm going to start working on one side at a time. So I'm just going to start on my left side again, and you'll be doing the exact same thing on the right one, on the opposite side. Now what we need to do as well is, what we have left now is 6 cords on each side there when we're taking the 2 out. So I'm going to separate those into 2 groups with 3 in each, and then we just need to work with one section at a time, where we then need to start adding the bead in here as well. So we have these sections of 3, so I'm going to take one at a time and then grab the middle one out of those 3 cords, and then I'm going to find the end. We're going to take the first bead and put that onto here. So just add 1 bead onto this middle cord of this section of 3 cords, and then you just want to let it drop all the way down like that. So it's going to sit right up against there. So what we're going to use the other 2 in this section of 3 cords is, the middle one is the holding cord. We're going to use the 2, 1 on each side there, to make a square knot around that bead. So just a regular square knot. So I take my left one over that holding cord, take the right one over that underneath the holding cord in the middle, and then up through the loop here. And then it's going to kind of hold the holding cord out taut while I'm tightening this. Tighten this right underneath the bead, so it's going to lock the bead in place, and then take my right cord over the holding cord, the left one over that underneath everything in the middle, and up through the loop. And then this is one full square knot, and then tighten that. So now the bead is nice and securely in place there. You want to do the same with this. So add a bead onto your middle one, and then cage that in with a square knot. So now I added both the beads on this side, so we're going to go over to the other side, and like I said, we're doing the same thing, except we're working on the other side. So I've already separated them into my 2 groups of 3 cords there. I've added my first bead onto that middle one in the outer group, and then I'm just going to show you this, because what I just do on the other side here is start with the opposite cord. So on this side I started with my left one. I took that first to make the square knot. On this one I'm just going to take the right one first. So on the left one I take the left cord, on the right side I take the right cord first. So it's just still the same, but that's just what I prefer to make it look nice and symmetrical. And then again you just want to make your square knot here to cage that bead in, and then finish off your square knot with the opposite side than the one you started with, like that, and again hold it taut. So there we go, that's the first bead on this side. And again, you've got the one group of cards left here, so add your bead to the middle. And then on the right side here with this one as well, start with the right card. And then once you've done that, we've added the first section of beads in. So I now have my first 4 beads caged in here by the square knot. And it does look like we have quite a few cards going on now. But just kind of try and keep them organized. So try to just imagine you have them in these groups of 3 for now. The ones that we use for the knots like that. That makes it a little bit easier to keep track of. Now what we need to do is add the next level of beads. So on each side, what we need to do is add on the very outer cards that we made the knots with. We need to have one on each side there. And then we need to have the 2 working cards here that go in towards each other. So the other one from that outer square knot, and then the one pointing in the same direction there, where the cards are kind of crossing over each other from the inner square knot. You want to take both of these cards and put them through one bead and just push that all the way up. Same thing on the other side, these 2 cards, one from each square knot, both of them through the same bead, push it up. And then finally we need one in the middle here as well, so the 2 working cards from those 2 square knots in the middle facing each other, both of those cards go through the same bead as well, and just push them all the way up just like that. Then what we need to do now is make a next set of square knots to then cage in these beads as well. So we want to make our square knots in the same way that we did the previous row. So we just work on it one at a time here. So again, just separate out your cards to work in the group that you're working with to begin with. So I'm going to take my left side first. Again, it's the same 3 as the first square knot we did. The outer one is the working card. This middle one that was the holding card before is still the holding card that will make a knot around. And then we have this working card that's going through that shared bead in between the 2 square knots. We need to make a square knot around this section. So just like the very first row of square knots, it's the exact same thing. And then we just tighten this as far up as this knot will go, without tightening too much either, because you don't want it to distort out of shape. Complete the square knot. This is on the left side for now. And this is mainly to just cage in the beads so they're not going to be moving around, stay in place so they stay exactly where we want them to stay. Do the same thing on the other side, remembering that on the other side here, on the right side, we want to start with the right working card and take that over the holding card first and make your square knot. Just hold the holding card taut as you're tightening it, and then the other half of the knot to make a full square knot, and then tighten that nicely just like that. So that's the 2 outer sections. So now what we have left are the inner sections here. We also need to make some square knots. So if we just separate them out again, we have 6 in total. So that's 2 sections of 3. Just gently put the others out of the way so we get them not too confused. So we take this section first, the card, the whole working card, sorry, that's coming through that shared bead that we just used the other one, and then the holding card in the middle, and then we have the card coming through the shared bead in the very middle of the whole piece. Make a square knot here with this section of 3 cards. Tighten to cage in the bead and complete the square knot. There we go. And then we're slowly getting there. We have this one loose section left, starting on the right side because we're on the right side of the bracelet. And then we're just going to tighten this up and then basically connect the whole piece, and it's going to start getting more of a shape now with these beads. Complete the square knot to tighten it in place. Now for this, I'm just going to tighten the first half of the square knot first, hold it down with my finger, and then tighten the other half just so it doesn't move around too much. And there we go. That's the next level here. So again, you can just keep your sections separated in these sections of 3 that you used to make the square knots with. It makes it a little bit easier to keep track of that way. So there we go, now I have all my sections separated out again. So for the next level of beads here, we have all the sections separated out in 3 cords in each section there. So this is going to be the same as the first row of beads that we did. We need to add 1 bead to each middle cord of each section. So just add on to all of them and push them up. So as you can see, we're going to have 4 in this one, just the same as the top row of beads. It's going to sit like this. So now we need to just basically go over and make more square knots just to cage in these beads, just with each individual section. So just the very same as we did in the first row. Make a square knot around each section here to cage in and fasten the bead. So do that all the way across, remembering again, as all the other times, on the right side you start with the right cord to make your square knot, just to make it nice and symmetrical. So now that we've done that section as well, we only have 1 bead left to add, and that's basically to create the very point of the hat. So we need to take the 2 cords in the middle, so the very 2 cords in the middle of the whole piece, and the 2 working cords from the middle that are pointing towards each other, and then just add a bead to both of those cords and push that all the way up like that, so it won't go any further. So now we have that bead in place. What we need to do now is move on to the next step before we can complete the section fully, and then that's bringing in these outer cords as well, because we need to get these all the way down to come in with the other ones to be able to move on and create the next section. So we start on one side. On the left side here, I'm going to start with that. We're going to be doing the same on both sides, just mirror it again. So I'm going to grab these 2. The outer one is going to be my working cord, and then the inner one there, the 2, is going to be the holding cord. And what we need to do is a vertical lax head knot. So I take that working cord, bring it over the holding cord, back around and through the loop, so you get a 6, and then tighten that all the way up till the knot won't go any further. Then we need to bring the working cord underneath, back around and through the loop, and then tighten that. So that's now 1 full knot. And then we basically just keep going like this, building up a row of knots here on the side, to then come down and join in to the level where the other cords end. And you obviously want to do the same on the other side, but like I said, just mirrored. So what you then do is, it's again the same principle, just think the outer one is going to be the working cord. So the very outer one here on the right side again, the outer one comes over, back around, underneath and through the loop, and on this side we just get a reverse 6. Tighten that all the way up. So as you can see, it's the exact same thing, just mirrored and working with opposite hands. That's all there is to it, the only difference. And we're just building up these rows on the side. And we basically need enough knots on each side to come down, like I said, and meet with the other cords around where that very last square knot is on the outside here. When you then made both your rows here, 1 on each side, I've ended up with 11 knots in total on each side. Now depending on your materials it can be a bit different, so just do it until you reach that point like I said down there, and you can have the same amount on both sides because obviously it's meant to be equal. So what we can do now is start gathering all this together and finishing up this section. So I'm going to start on my left side. I'm going to take the very outer cord, so that's the one that was the working cord in this outer row, bring that across all the others. I'm actually just going to separate my cords again, half to one side and then half to the side that I'm working on, just like we did in the beginning. And then the very next one, that was the holding cord in the outer section, that's the very next one, I'm going to use to take over, back around and through as my first working cord. As I'm tightening this then, this holding cord needs to come across like this, all the others in towards the middle, because we need to now make these rows again, so we need that same angle. So come down like this as you're tightening your knots to be able to make that same angle. So that's the first one, a double half hitch. Grab the very next cord, which is this working cord from the first square knot that we ran into. Make a double half hitch and then tighten this. And this first row is just takes a bit more maneuvering, placing the knots where they need to go, where you want them to go rather, like that. Grab the very next one, that's the holding cord, and then you basically just continue like this all the way in towards the middle. Make your double half hitches here with the very next cord that you run into. So we're just building our row just like we did in the beginning, coming down at an angle and then meeting in the middle there. When you then reach the middle with this one, same principle as in the beginning, we need to go over to the other side and do the same thing, just mirrored. So we go to the very outer cords first, the very outside one that was the working cord, bring that over all the others. Now we're just working with opposite hands. So the holding cord, the first one you run into that's coming underneath, make a double half hitch to create this beginning of this row now on this side. Again, holding your holding cord in the direction you want the row to go. Same principle, have this one coming downward at an angle and then in towards the middle there, same as the other one. And then once you've done that, we're going to just repeat the same step as the beginning. We then want the two sides to be connected. So the two holding cords, we're just going to tie them together using a double half hitch as well. Once you've then done that, you can see now that we have this little V on the bottom, same as we do up here, and all the cords come out to each their own side. And this is basically the first section that we've done. These rows that we just made now, one on each side, is the very same as the very first one. So, to continue to then make the next row and continue the same way, you just want to make another row on each side, the very same that we did in the beginning, so we have two rows right underneath each other, and then you go into making this whole section with the beads again. So we have these heart shapes stacked on top of each other, creating that length of the bracelet. So you just want to keep repeating these steps until you reach the length that you need. So I now kept making section after section of my bracelet until I reached almost the length that I want my full bracelet to be. And then we're at this point, right below the very last section that I've made. And we have all these cords coming out. So what we need to do now is finish it off, so attach to the jump ring on this end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate all my cords here to each side. So I only have the two left in the very middle that I tied my very last knot with there. These two I'm going to use to attach the jump ring with. The others I'm just going to put to the side for now. And then I'm going to get my jump ring out and make sure it's closed if it's an open one, just like the other end, or use one that's completely closed already. So what I'm going to do is take one of my links here and go through the jump ring, and then place the jump ring as far down, close to there where it's going to sit. And then I'm going to take my two lengths of cord here and then just tie a regular overhand knot, tying the two together. So one is going through the jump ring and the other one is just coming from the bracelet there. Tie them down like this, and then I'm going to get another end again, one of the ends, go through the jump ring, whatever way it seems natural that it's going to go through, pull it all the way, and then around, bring it around to the side here, around the front, and then again just take your two cords, tie a regular knot. One is going through the jump ring and another one is just outside the jump ring. Tie that below the jump ring or above, depends how you look at it. Basically on top of the previous knot there. And then I'm going to just actually basically do this a few times. The more you do it, the more secure it is. But obviously we don't want it to become too bulky either. Again, I'm going to take one of the cords, go through the jump ring, while I leave the other one as it is. Bring it around to the bottom of the jump ring again. Bring the two cords together and tie a knot. Just like that. And then I'm going to do one last one where I'm not going to go through the jump ring. I'm just going to tie a knot with the two cords. And then as I'm tightening it, right now my last knot is on top here on this top side. I'm going to tighten it, but then make sure the knot goes underneath the jump ring. So I'm just lifting it up. So basically we're tying a knot around the bottom where all the cords and all the knots are tying. But the knot is going to sit on the underside then. Just like that. And then that's nice and secure. We have quite a few knots there now. So I'm happy now that this is secure. I've attached my jump ring on this end. And basically the main part of the whole bracelet is done now. So we can take it off the board. And it looks a bit something like this. We have both our jump rings on each end. So what we need to do now is get rid of all this excess cord. To do this, what I'm going to do is, because I'm using the S-Lon here, it's a synthetic cord, I can singe off the ends and secure them that way. If you're using a more natural cord instead of this, then what you can do as well is just use glue in place of doing this. But what I'm going to do is singe it off. So I'm just going to take a few at a time, start from one side. We want to then take our scissors and then cut off the excess of the cord pretty close down, but just so you have about 1 millimeter or 2 left of cord there sticking out from the bracelet, from your very last knot where they're coming out from. Get all your cords out of the way. I'm going to take my lighter and then just singe down the ends of this to go against the bracelet, and then just push it in, and then that gets rid of the cord, but it's also nice and secure because it's singed in place. It kind of seals the cord there, so it's not going to come undone. You just want to go over and do this with all of them, and also with the two in the middle here, where you have your last knot where you attach your jump ring, you tie the last knot on the back side. Just do the same thing. Cut down the cord, so you have about 1 millimeter or 2 left on both of them, and then you just go in and singe down those little ends that you have left. So that's what you do all the way around. If you're using a synthetic cord like me, you can do this. Otherwise, you can just add some glue right around where your cords are coming out from, so around the knots there where the cords are coming from, and then once your glue is dried a bit, you can just cut off the excess. So it's completely up to you how you want to do it, but this gives a nice and neat finish. So just go over and do all of your cords and get rid of them that way. So I now got rid of all the cords on the end here, so you can see it's nice and clean. And then I've also attached my findings, so my clasp here, lobster claw clasp, and then extender chain at the other end. You can obviously attach whatever findings you want to yours. We'll then just use this, close it up, and then this is how your bracelet will look. So you have all these connected hats with your beads, creating that pattern. So it's perfect for Valentine's Day if you want to use it for that. So that's how the bracelet ends up looking, using these materials of course. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you very much for watching. Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this Macrame rose. And this is what it looks like. So this is just a red one that I made with the same cord. And this is the back. And it's kind of lace-like, I think. And obviously you can use this for whatever you want and make it in whatever variations that you want to make it in. So this is just one that I'm going to be showing you how to do. Now a few others that I've made, I just made a white one as well, just to show you can make it in any colour that you want.